Hello, my friends. Welcome to the House of Knowledge. My name is Kатекаев Г.М. I'm very glad to welcome you on our webinars that include answers to the most common questions you've sent to us. The topic of our webinar is survival. First of all, let's remember some words related to this topic. Bandage, ice pack, antiseptic cream, saline, ointment, plaster, cast. As for grammar mentioned in the video lesson, it included question tags. So let me remind you, question tags are formed by using the modal auxiliary verb uh, from the main statement and the appropriate subject pronoun. A positive statement is followed by a negative question tag, and a negative statement is followed by a positive question tag. Here are some examples. Sue's very nice, isn't she? Let's go home now, shall we? You didn't see a snake, did you? Bill has gone camping, hasn't he? He can't be serious, can he? You don't like that horrible painting, do you? It was a great party, wasn't it? Now let's get back to the topic of survival. Do you know who is Bear Grylls? He's the best of the living legends who teaches people how to survive in different situations. These Bear Grylls survival tips will be very helpful when you are exploring uncharted territories. With no idea what to expect, remember that there is no set of rules to follow except just be prepared for anything and everything. It is safe to say that anyone who follows his exploits will have a higher chance of surviving the wild. Prepare yourself the best way possible and take a look at his best outdoor survival tips. Uh, and the first, use a wet t-shirt in sweaty situations. Hydration is key when we are lumbered in extreme heats. If don't stay hydrated, we'll pass out quickly. And mm, however, hydration doesn't always come from water. Of course, if we are able to find clean water somewhere, it's better to drink plenty of that. On the other hand, if we can't find clean water, there is an alternative way to prevent dehydration. A wet t-shirt wrapped around our head. We just need to find any liquid to dampen our t-shirt, and then wrap it around our head. It will make us feel instantly cooler and increase our energy levels. Most importantly, it could save our lives. A first aid kit can boost a signal fire. If we are ever lost, injured, or trapped somewhere and in need of help, VR recommends using a signal fire to get attention. But what happens if we have no experience in starting fires, let alone the apparatus to do it? Bass says we should turn to our first aid kit. It should contain everything we need to start a signal fire. Try to get a small fire going first. This is possible by rubbing sticks together to create friction, but it will take a while. Then grab a bandage from the kit and cover it in Vaseline. Throw it into the fire along with mosquito repellent, and then we'll have a big fire going in no time. The foolproof way of telling if a plant is safe to eat. In the wild, we are going to encounter a ton of different plants and other unfamiliar things that could feed us, but also poison us. But how does anyone know how to tell which is safe from which is unsafe? Someone like Bear, who has years of experience doing this kind of thing, is going to find it easier. For those who rarely or never do it, there is a little foolproof way we can see if a plant is edible. Find a plant that looks healthy. Rub a little of its juice on your upper underarm. If there is no rash, place a little on your lips and then in the corner of your mouth. If there is still no irritation, chew and swallow a small piece. If there is no irritation or problem after 5 hours, the plant is safe to eat. Use a backpack liner to cross strong rivers. If anyone has ever watched one of the Bear Grylls programs, they will know that every now and then a huge daunting river crops up. Luckily, Bear doesn't spiral into a fit of panic. Like everything else he does, he finds a way to deal with it because that's what we have to do when we are in the wild. Anyway, if anyone does find themselves needing to cross a big, fast river, Bear advises us to first anticipate where we'll be spat out on the other side and to give ourselves an additional 25%. Then use a backpack liner as a flotation device to help us to get to the other side. Try to trap as much air in the liner as possible. Stay calm in stressful situations. It's only natural for us to get stressed out in survival situations, especially if it's our first time and we have a little experience. The trouble is, we tend to make bad decisions when we panic. That's why Bear suggests taking a breather before jumping into our next disaster situation. Our chances of survival will be much higher if we take a moment to think through and calm ourselves down. We know it sounds easier said than done, but it really can help. We must stay composed at all times in a survival situation, or we'll be destined for disastrous consequences. Please remember what's first. We must never forget the order of our priorities when stuck in the wild. That's why Bear tells us to please remember what's first: protection, rescue, water, food. We can also just remember it as PRWF. First of all, think about the immediate surroundings and how we can protect ourselves from them: rain, heat, winds, and of course, hungry animals. Uh, we need to assess the immediate threats and find a way to protect ourselves from them. After that, we need to think how we are going to get rescued. And of course, water and food are always important for survival. Palm nuts are a go-to food. In the wild, we can't eat any old things we find. In fact, doing so could lead to some potentially devastating consequences. The best rule Bear Grylls likes to stick to is if one is not 100% sure that it's edible, don't eat it. Keep that in mind the next time you find yourself stuck in the woods hungry. If anyone intends to embarking on a wilderness journey, it's better to do plenty of research on food sources in the area beforehand. According to Bear, every jungle has palm nuts, which are an excellent source of calories and vitamins. If all else fails, stick to palm nuts. There is no time to be picky eating eyeballs. Bear Grylls is famous for eating all those gross things most of us wouldn't dare put in our mouth. But when we are in the wild, starving, it's really no time to be picky. There's no doubt about it. Bear has eaten some pretty unappetizing things over the years. The worst, probably the eyes of a yak, but he did have backup to prove he wasn't ludicrous. Each eyeball contains more protein than a stick. We know it's no gourmet dish, but if we are in the wild, hungry, and desperate as much protein, for as much as protein as possible, yak eyes are a smart choice. Our armpits can bring our phone battery back to life. Our phones can be total lifesavers when we stranded or lost somewhere, but they're not so useful is if they have no battery. The good news is that Bear has a little trick for bringing our phones back to life. Often it's more a case of our batteries struggling to work in extreme colds and heat. According to BR, we can use our underarms to bring the battery back to life, but only if there's a charge left. If our phone is waterproof in a casing or in a bag, all we have to do is place the mobile in our armpit and thanks to the warmth, it will come back to life. Always tell someone where we are going. This kinda goes without saying, but always tell someone where you are going and when you are due back, advises Bear. This might sound obvious, but it's surprising just how many people go out for an adventure without telling anyone where they are going. It's always important to plan beforehand. We are not saying we should expect for something bad to happen, but we also have to be smart and plan for what could happen if the worst did happen. If we tell someone where we are going before we go, at least they will start searching when they don't hear from us. It always pays to make others aware and never give up. BR has accomplished some incredible things in his life, and we think a big reason for that could be down to his highly positive and strong-willed mindset. Survival can be summed up in three words: never give up. That's the heart of it, really. Just keep trying. The fact is, even BR didn't start out knowing all these things about survival. He too found himself in situations he struggled to get out of, but he persisted. He never gave up. And if we are in the wild struggling, we can't afford to get all done in the dumps. We must keep going if we want to survive. Face all fears. When faced with a daunting situation, it is normal to feel fear. Fear can actually be a survival mechanism to prevent us from placing ourselves in even more danger. Fear can also be damaging in survival situations. Breyer likes to make an acronym out of fear: false expectations appearing real. It basically means that we are afraid of appears real, but it is actually not happening now and might not happen in the future either. The best way to answer back to our fears is by shutting down our negative thought process. This way we can concentrate on overcoming the challenge instead. Way more productive in a survival situation. If it is cold, stay dry. If we find ourselves in a cold climate in which we are struggling to stay warm, it can be potentially life-threatening. So we need to know what to do stay warm. It's not like we can stick on the AC or something. We are in the wilderness and we need to improvise. Bear recommends staying in the shade of if we are in a hot climate and staying dry when we are in a cold climate. When we get wet, our body loses heat 20 times faster than if it were dry. In other words, don't jump into a cold river if you don't have to. Rock climbing is more about legs than arms. We generally think of rock climbing as something based on arm strength. We are, after all, climbing up a rock face, and to do that, we need our arms. Actually, our legs are the ones we should be focusing on even more. While arm strength is indeed essential, there are urges us not to hang on our arms too much because they'll tire fast. He suggests letting our legs do more of the work. For the best results, keep the hips close to the rock face and our feet more than hip distance apart. This will give us steady footing. And this is the foolproof way of rock climbing. Always find water. Water is the source of life and we need it to stay alive. In fact, we can't go any longer than 3 or 4 days without water. That's because the body is 60% water. We can actually last a bit longer without food. 3 weeks is the maximum. So if we ever get stranded in the wilderness, the first thing we should do is search for water. It's not the kind of thing we want to start looking for on day 3. We need it as soon as possible. It's not always easy finding water in the wild, so that should be our first step. Always start fire. A fire isn't just there for decoration. A fire can serve multiple uses, from boiling up water to cooking food to keeping us warm. If we want to last longer than a few days, starting a fire is crucial. It's something we see Bear do all the time on his show. But actually, uh, starting a fire is the tricky part, and Bear has a few different methods for doing it. Waterproof matches or steel and flint are the best ways to get kindling alight. But if all else fail, fails, we could try rubbing two sticks together. Just be patient. This isn't a quick job. Learning from Bear Grylls, a veteran in this field, will definitely increase your chances of survival if you get lost in the wild. He is a proven expert, and utilizing his mindset will help get you out of harm's way in almost every situation. I think now you are all ready to survive in some extreme situations. That is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.